Hey guys, sorry we're getting kind of a late start today. I had some stuff I had to work out first. I hope you guys are doing well. Happy Tuesday to you. Today, I think I'm gonna work on some few commissions. Probably. First off, we're doing a little bit of recording though. I need to record the second winner story for the contest. So yeah, I think we're gonna do a little bit of recording first. So you guys get a story. That's always cool. If you want to throw your comments and stuff in there, I'll answer questions and such. And we're just kind of gonna chill out and hang out today, I guess. Hey, Cindy, glad you could make it. Um, this is the winner, one of the winners. Leia, of course, was also our winner, and then we had Master P is also our winner. This is his story, Where's the Smoke? So I'm going to narrate that so that we can go ahead and get that done. So, yeah. Like I said, if you guys are just joining us, we're just doing a little reading, doing a little writing, just kind of hanging out. Let's see. At just 16, I know I probably shouldn't be doing this, but I couldn't resist. My mom warned me against it, and my friends advised me to stay away, but I didn't care. I went ahead and did it anyway because it brought me a sense of happiness. I'm talking about smoking. Yeah, that habit where people inhale toxic fumes from their sticks that gradually destroy their health. That's what I've been. Bleh. That's what I've been doing. I think I picked it up about a year ago, and it's been a part of my routine ever since. My mom is really against it, especially since my dad passed away due to smoking, but she hasn't been able to stop me. I usually only smoke when I'm feeling stressed or anxious. This morning, I was sitting on the back porch, doing my usual thing, relaxing in a chair, smoking, or sipping a glass of water. It's a little ritual I enjoy. Suddenly, the door swung open. I turned to see my mom standing there. The moment she spotted the cigarette hanging from my lip, her smile vanished. Harrison, I thought you promised not to do that in the mornings. It's bad enough that you smoke every day and night, she said, her voice filled with concern. I rolled my eyes and muttered under my breath. I didn't smoke every single day or night. I only do it when I'm feeling anxious or overwhelmed. Mom, relax. I'm not smoking as much as Dad did. And you don't need to worry so much. I'm honestly only of. Yeah, if I could read. Hi, Susie Q. Glad you could make it. And you don't need to worry. Bleh. I can't find the spot now. And you don't need to worry so much. I'm almost out of cigarettes anyway, I replied, getting to my feet. Without another word, I crushed the cigarette under my foot, extinguishing the smoke and the flame. Listen, young man, it's time for school, and I really don't want you to be late again, so off you go, Mom instructed. I simply nodded, and despite the lingering scent of cigarette smoke, she allowed me to give her a quick kiss on the cheek. After grabbing my bag, an essential for school, I started my walk down the street. School was usually a drag. It felt like nothing the teacher said ever stuck, and they often acted like they owned you the moment you stepped through the door. As I walked, I pondered my mom's words. Maybe she had a point. Perhaps I should quit smoking. If I wanted to have a long life, a good appearance, and a family someday, smoking certainly wouldn't help. Yet the thought of giving. Yeah. Try that one again. Yet, the thought of giving up cigarettes, even for a day, was daunting. The pain of losing my dad was a heavy burden, and smoking seemed to dull that ache, even if it was just a little. I continued my walk until I reached the school. Before entering, I made sure to hide my cigarettes. I knew that if a teacher spotted them, I'd be in serious trouble. Once I settled at my desk, I noticed a group of students chatting and laughing together. I sighed quietly, feeling the sting of isolation, as many avoided me because of my smoking habit. Maybe I could find someone who shared my interest. It would be nice to have a companion to hang out with. Mom was right about one thing. My jacket reeked of smoke, and I could tell some girls were giving me the look that made me feel like a pariah. When lunch arrived, I found myself alone at a table, which didn't bother me too much. But during recess, my heart raced as I contemplated sneaking a smoke or finding some place to escape reality. While spending time outside, I found myself standing under a tree, ready to light up a cigarette. "Hey, Jonathan, glad you could make it." "Oh, yeah. I try to be here every Tuesday and Thursday and Saturday. So, you know, we're actually getting a little bit of a late start. I usually knock these out a little earlier, but, you know, had some stuff to do, so it's always nice to come around and hang out." Just as I was about to take a puff, I realized my pack was completely empty. Frustrated, I let out a little growl and crumpled the box in my hand. I went through the I went through the rest of the day without a single smoke, which I knew would make Mom happy, but I felt an urge to hurl my shoe at somebody. After school, I retraced my steps from the morning, and something caught my eye. Across the street stood an antique shop that had an intriguing charm. I considered checking it out, but I remembered that Mom didn't appreciate me being late. Then it hit me. I could easily tell her I stopped because I was trying to kick my smoking habit. Without a second thought, I made my way to the store. As I approached, I noticed its brown and gold exterior, a design that seemed to cater to older ladies. Yet, I felt a spark of curiosity about what treasures might lie within. I grasped. Bleh. I grasped the golden doorknob and stepped inside, immediately greeted by a rush of cold air. For a moment, I thought about turning back, but I pushed aside my hesitation and decided to explore the intriguing space. As I walked through the aisles, I spotted books, clothes, and all sorts of items typical to an antique shop, and I couldn't help but chuckle to myself. As I approached the front counter, I spotted an older gentleman engrossed in a book, his glasses perched on his nose. When I cleared my throat, he glanced up at me. "Ah, greetings, young one. Welcome. Is there something special you're looking to purchase in my delightful store?" he inquired. I considered picking up a little something for Mom, hoping to lift her spirits after the evening of after the events. Hoping to lift her spirits after the events of the morning. I was sure I could find something she would like here. Then another thought crossed my mind. After the unfortunate incident with my box of cigarettes at school, I was in need of a replacement. "This may sound a bit odd, but do you happen to sell cigarettes?" I asked. The man raised an eyebrow, and I anticipated his response. However, he simply held up a finger and leaned down, obscuring my view of him. A moment later he straightened up, and at first I thought he had nothing to offer. But then he placed a white and gold cigarette box on the counter. I eagerly snatched it up, my excitement building as I read the name printed on it. Pleasure. "How much do they cost?" I asked with a grin. "They're free, but let me give you a heads up," the man replied, his tone dripping with intrigue. "Young man, make sure you only indulge in one a day. Trust me, you won't enjoy the consequences of smoking more than that." I stared at him, thinking he was being eccentric, and thanked him before leaving the store. As I strolled down the street, I couldn't help but glance at the cigarette box. Caution, smoke only one of these a day. I tucked the box into my pocket, chuckling to myself. He probably just wanted to save some for other customers. When I got home, Mom was already in the kitchen, preparing dinner. She immediately asked where I'd been, and I casually mentioned I was just wandering around the city. Can't talk today. Contemplating a cigarette. She smiled, and I suggested I could head upstairs, asking her to call me when dinner was ready. Without another word, I made my way to my room and shut the door behind me. Sitting on the edge of my bed, I pulled the intriguing cigarettes from my pocket and began to open the box. As I took one out, I was taken aback. Instead of the usual white and tan, this cigarette was entirely black, leaving me puzzled since I'd never encountered a black cigarette before. I considered giving it a try before dinner, but then I realized that wouldn't be a good idea. Mom would definitely catch a whiff of it, and I could already picture her disappointment. So I shut the box and tucked it away in my drawer, trying to shake off the nervous feeling about what the cigarettes would be like. During dinner, Mom was sharing stories about her day at work, but I found it hard to focus on her words, my mind racing with thoughts of my plans for the night. Once dinner was over, it was bedtime for Mom. She had an early start the next day and always turned in early. That left me alone in my room, and without really thinking it through, I got out of bed, slipped the pleasure cigarette out of my jacket, and quietly made my way out. I could hear Mom chatting on the phone in her room, so I made sure to keep my breathing steady and avoided drawing attention. If you're just joining us, I'm just getting some narration done. Probably going to write a little after that, so you guys get a bonus story today. This is the other winner of our monthly contest, so enjoy. It's a good story. Once I stepped out into the backyard, I pulled out the cigarette box and lighter. I quickly took out a pleasure cigarette, lit it, and took my first puff. A sudden chill ran down my spine, which was strange because I had never felt that way with other cigarettes. Maybe it was just the cool night air. I continued until I felt it was time to stop, casually tossing the cigarette into the grass, indifferent to the possibility of lighting a fire. I made my way back inside after that. Once I reached my room, a harsh cough escaped me, surprising me. Sure, I'd coughed from smoking before, but this one, like... Yeah. This one... Nope. This time, it was a pleasure. If I could talk. This time, it was a pleasure cigarette I actually enjoyed. Why do these feel so strange? After that, I headed to school, and as a sort of farewell, I avoided cigarettes during classes and lunch. However, once outside, I made my way to the trees to indulge in a smoke. I lit my cigarette and took a drag, only to notice the smoke billowing out was an unsettling shade of black. It sent a shiver down my spine, and I considered examining the cigarette more closely, but ultimately shrugged it off, not really caring. Maybe I could pay attention to these pleasure cigarettes. Should, not could. Maybe I should pay attention to these pleasure cigarettes, especially since they were completely black, and the smoke I exhaled was the same eerie color, which unnerved me. I was aware that smoking was a slow death, but I couldn't shake the thought that would these cigarettes stain my teeth black or change the color of my eyes? I knew I shouldn't dwell on it, but the thoughts just kept creeping in. After a long evening, I found myself feeling quite exhausted, so I thought it might be a good idea to take a nap, or perhaps turn in earlier than usual. Before long, I stirred awake, rubbing my eyes and feeling a bit disoriented, still fatigued. I heard my mom calling me from downstairs, prompting me to get up and head that way. As I entered the kitchen, I saw her with her back to me, but I could make out that she was holding a knife. "Mom, what's happening?" I asked, a hint of concern in my voice. "Just wanted to surprise you with a little gift," she said cheerfully. When she turned around, I noticed the knife still in her hand, but her face was lit up with a wide grin. Suddenly, without warning, she opened her mouth, and a torrent of black goo erupted from everywhere. She began to laugh maniacally, and in that moment I screamed. When I opened my eyes, I found myself back in bed, staring at the ceiling. I quickly sat up, taking in my surroundings and realizing I was on my own, in my own room. It dawned on me that I must have had a nightmare or something. "That's not your mom." "Welcome, Osiris. We're glad to see you." If you guys are just joining us, we're just doing some narration and some writing. I'm narrating one of the stories that won the contest this month, so look for it probably Thursday. I'm compiling the other one as we speak, so hopefully it'll be ready pretty soon, and I can get that one up so that I'm working on like an extra story on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so should be kind of cool, I guess. Let's see here. Where were we? A few days later, I'd smoked quite a few cigarettes, yet the box seemed never ending. Was that a good sign or a bad one? Suddenly I realized I wasn't feeling great. These so-called pleasure cigarettes were taking a toll on me, and I could sense it. I decided to return to the antique shop, intending to explain the situation to the man and return them. As I walked to the store, I couldn't shake off the nightmare I'd had. When I mentioned it to my mom, she suggested it was likely due to my smoking habit, offering no comfort. Upon reaching the shop, I pulled out the cigarette box, ready to share my concerns with the shopkeeper. But when I looked up, a wave of dizziness hit me. The store appeared completely deserted, and I felt a surge of panic. Was this all just a cruel trick, or was I losing my mind? In a moment of clarity, I turned around and tossed the cigarette box into a nearby trash can, heading home with a firm resolve to quit smoking after everything that had transpired. As I made my way to my room, a wave of dread washed over me, and when I spotted the pleasure cigarettes sitting on my bed, I was certain that I was going crazy. I had tossed them away, and now things were starting to feel very strange. Unsure of my next move, I stormed over to the cigarette box, a surge of frustration making me crush it in my grip. I muttered angrily under my breath. I stepped outside, taking a seat on the porch and grappling with what to do next, feeling as if I was somehow cursed by these cigarettes. As I strolled down the street, lost in thought, I suddenly collided with someone and heard a cry of pain. I looked down and saw a little girl sprawled on the ground, tears streaming down her cheeks, and my heart sank with guilt. "Are you all right?" I asked, my voice laced with concern. "You ran into me. You need to watch where you're going," she said sharply. I extended my hand to help her up, and she attempted it, but then I felt a sharp pain where she gripped my arm. It was as if I were on fire. I yanked my arm away, crying out in agony. "What's wrong, Harrison? I thought you enjoyed smoking," the girl said, with a mischievous grin. This is Master P is the author of this one. He's wrote a few stories for the channel, actually. Trying to remember what his handle is usually. He's actually got another Prophetic Pages story that I'd like to read too, but I'll probably save that one for a later time. I got to finish the Dead Mall story too. Like, we're almost done with it, I think, and it'll make a nice several parts compilation once I put them all together. The series is really good. Like, for a newer story, like it's really top notch. I scanned the empty street, realizing there was no one around to intervene with this bizarre little girl. It felt like a scene from a dream, something that couldn't possibly be real. She flashed a wide smile, revealing her blackened teeth, and then exhaled a cloud of dark smoke right in my face, cackling with a deranged laughter. "Do you want another hit?" she taunted, brandishing a pleasure cigarette. I instinctively stepped away, heat rising in my cheeks as my heartbeat pounded in my ears. It seemed she could sense my fear as her laughter echoed again. Without a second thought, I bolted for the street, not caring where I was heading, just desperate to escape. A few minutes later, I found myself at the edge of town, standing in the woods. I was trying to calm my racing heart when I heard that laughter again. I turned and was met by the sight of that girl once again. This time, her eyes were pitch black, and dark goo dripped from her nose and mouth, making her even more terrifying. "Come on, take it. You know you want it," she urged, holding the cigarette out to me. "Just leave me alone," I said. The girl burst into laughter, and I instinctively covered my ears. Yet her giggles found a way through. Out of nowhere, I began to choke, quickly clamping my hands over my mouth. When I pulled them away, I was horrified to see dark blood smearing my palms. I let it spill on. The allergies are killing me today. I let it spill onto the ground, and when a wave of dizziness hit me, causing me to collapse, I fell with a heavy thud. As I drifted in the void, everything from my life and family faded away, leading me to believe that I was gone. And then I blinked my eyes open. I found myself in a hospital room where a doctor and my mom were in deep conversation. Glancing around, I realized I was lying in a bed. "Mom?" She turned around in an instant, and upon seeing me awake, rushed over to envelop me in a tight hug. I groaned softly, but the thought of telling her that she was hurting me didn't cross my mind. "What happened?" I asked, directing my gaze at the doctor. "Well, young man, some hikers discovered you unconscious in the woods near town. They found these in your hands, and I suspect they affected your heart and brain." The doctor held up a box of pleasure cigarettes, and a wave of emotions washed over me, making me feel faint again. But I knew I had to explain, both to my mom and the doctor, what had transpired. A few weeks later, I'd finally kicked the smoking habit, much to my mom's delight, and I felt a sense of relief as well. The reality was that after I let go of those indulgent cigarettes, everything seemed to return to normal, and I was confident my health would improve significantly. One rainy day, Mom and I were cozied up in the living room when the doorbell rang. Curiosity piqued, I got up to see who it was. When I opened the door, I found no one there, but my eyes fell on a bottle of wine resting on the ground. I leaned down to pick it up and examine the label, which read, "Glamour." Interesting, I thought to myself. I wonder what it tastes like. And there you go. That's the story. Yeah, there you go, Osiris. That's one way to kick a habit for sure. Let's see. Transfer that over so we can get that made into a story too. Let's see. Hang on a second. There we go. Got to get some quiet sound to pick out all the regular sound. I don't know. Somebody had taught me how to do this, and I've just got it all written down, so it's all just kind of like repetition for me at this point. Alrighty. Been working on a lot of Halloween stories lately. We're a little bit ahead of the curve on that one. Um, so not too far off from the Halloween season. My intention is still to put on a big show for Halloween, like I always do. But we'll see just how many of them I can get done with in that time. Got to start working on some shorts too, I guess. My channel's beginning to list a little, and some new shorts and some new content would probably be for the best, I guess. Once you become apathetic about it, that's when your channel starts to go to hell. Anybody got any big Halloween plans coming up? I think we might look for a haunted house or a corn maze somewhere around here. Maybe do some pumpkin carving and things. Let's see. I know he's got another name. Like he's told it to me 100 times. I just can't seem to find it. Let's see. Dang it. Dang. Sorry, guys. I'm looking for stuff right now. Give me like just a second. There's the guy that wrote the story, like, has a particular name that he always wants on there, and I can't seem to find it. I'm coming up with nothing here. I must be mistaken. Oh well, it'll be fine. Alrighty, let's see what to do now. I guess since we're recording stuff, I could just go ahead and do the Dead Mall stuff. Dead Pines, Dead Mall, whatever it's called. Yeah, no, Dead Pines, that's the one. Let's see. Where were we on that one? That's the one I'm after. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? There we go. Alrighty. I guess we'll just keep up this recording spree here and read some more Dead Pines. Seem to get most of my best writing done these days as I do something else and just kind of dictate to my phone, so I guess we'll keep that going. Carpal tunnel's been really bad lately. It's probably because it's edging into arthritis, which is not great for somebody who makes their living while writing. You know what? I don't feel like going through all that. Let's find where we were at here. I think that's the one. Okay. It's got to be around here somewhere. Alright. Got it queued up. Let me go to the bathroom real quick, and I'll be right back. Sit tight. Back to it. Alright, so we're going to continue on with Dead Pines, and I guess I'll get a little bit of narration done today. There we go. Okay. Within the first minutes of May 25th, 2024, the late night stream goes live. What begins as an amateurish and dull broadcast with less than a dozen viewers, unexpectedly, over the course of the night, reaches many esoteric and darker corners of the internet. It peaks at over 10,000 viewers. Secondary recordings of the stream exist, but there's a debate on both the authenticity and the explanation around the following events that are ongoing. At first, the operator gives viewers time to join as he checks his setup and confirms his working. Typing can be heard over the sound of heavy rain on a metal roof. The camera is pointed directly upwards at a dim ceiling light. At 12:10 a.m., the broadcast begins proper when the camera pans around the security room and is tilted up and down. The motion is smooth. Either out of shyness or desire for continued anonymity, he is careful not to reveal his face. His opening words are light and timid. He will gradually speak with more confidence as the long night wears on. Okay, test. You hearing me? Looks like... Yeah, chat says yeah. Alright, cool. Well, there aren't many watching yet, so I'll start things slow and see if we get some numbers. Still, not bad for a first-time live streamer, maybe. I normally think this form of entertainment is stupid, but what the heck? It kind of feels like I've gotten to know a few of you over the last couple of weeks. So, I don't have much of a rig going on here. No lights, no external mic, but I do have a gimbal, so it should look nice for everyone at least. I'll stay in landscape. Can you hear the rain? It's a little scary out there. News is warning that there could be a flash flood in the area. No worries though, the building is up on a mound. Worst case, I get my own island for the night. Oh yeah, so might be in my own head here. Maybe I should have loosened up with a few drinks first. Anyway, this is the security room where the magic happens. He pans the camera to show the monitors that surveil the warehouse. I know you guys want to see me crack open Greg's locker, but that'll be in a bit. Hoping to get like 30 people watching first. We'll start with that tour of the building. It won't be that exciting, but I figured some of you might want to see what occupies the space where Sleepy Pines is, and its many stories and memories that once existed here. So, fun fact, I compared satellite photos and mapping out the contributions and coordinations, and it turns out that my office here sits at about where the mall's main entrance marquee used to be. The warehouse is also about 20 feet higher up than the mall was. No one else seems to be joining yet, so I guess we'll get started. He proceeds down the stairs and walks the building, throwing up minimal commentary as he gets the documentary-style footage of the sorting machines and endless shelves of various bulk projects. To any outsider, this would be very uninteresting, but for Sleepy Pines enthusiasts, there is subdued excitement around simply getting to see what exists where an infamous shopping mall once was. The chat is buzzing with Dead Mall's memes and trivia. By 12:30, he arrives at the rear corridor, where the security cameras have been tampered with. He slows down his movement, giving the viewers a chance to inspect the area for themselves, and perhaps see something he's missed. Nothing stands out to the audience, and he soon arrives at the shelves that were just out of view of the camera that only monitored the area. Here's where the dirt incident happened. No evidence left of the soil. I read some theories that maybe there's a hidden entrance or something here, like into the shelves or between them. That's kind of out there, guys, but I did check around. Well, as you can see, it's all pretty solid and crowded with heavy bags of mulch and dirt. He jostles the stacked metal for a moment and then walks around the large tower of gardening supplies. You can barely see it, but these shelves surround one of our load-bearing columns. Just concrete and rebar back there. I already spent a few hours looking around the spot, just trying to find some reason for the hijacked cams, but I've come up with nothing. Moving on, here's something you all want to see. One sec. He switches to the IR lens attachment, painting the world in mostly blue colors and purples. A few warmer regions in dark red as well. The crew are just... bleh. The crew was just here yesterday and scraped away all the mold, but I can't show you any of that. If I dial up the sensitivity like this, though, there, now you can see the hot dust still floating around. If the bits rate isn't crap, like I said, this dust is everywhere, wafting through the building. I don't have this problem with the infrared camera at home. What do you think it is? I referred... I reread some of the comments last night and was reminded about, what is this, dust or spores or whatever, was in the air at Sleepy Pines, only no one noticed because IR tech was too expensive for those people. And there are some theories that maybe the mold is actually that stuff on the walls in the original Dead Mall story. that can, what's the word, like transmute matter to the point where it reverts a place into what it was in the past. I I don't know, without a totem, like a real one, shaped by a true believer. He trails off, then returns to the camera to check his feed. Okay, cool. We got some more viewers, I guess. I guess we can get into opening Greg's locker. When we find like weird sex toys in there or something, we'll all have a good laugh and I'll wind things down. I still have a job to do after all, and following some distant thunder, the lights in the building flicker and go off. He keeps still and quiet as the dim glow of the backup lamps appear, though it's too dark for the phone camera to pick up anything but specks of light. Almost gave me a heart attack. Only a storm for those just joining. I'll check the recruit. Circuit breaker. If you're just joining us, we're reading Dead Pines, which is a continuation of like Dead Mall and Sleepy Pines and all that. So if you're just joining us, you're joining us at a pretty good time. I'll check the circuit breaker while I'm back here, but we'll probably have to wait for the lights to come back. I'm not opening that locker in the dark. Hold on. The glow of his phone lights up the breaker box, which he opens with a key. He checks the large array of switches, remaining calm throughout. A few of those in the chat seem to be genuinely concerned, but most simply laugh off the power outage as a nice little boost to the stream's spooky factor. Well, doesn't look like anything flipped, but you can see the crazy number of circuits you need to run a place like this. Oh, wait, this last switch is tripped. He shines his light on the label of the switch in the lower right corner and hesitates. Apparently it's disused. Don't know what that's about, so not going to be touching it. Alright, back to the office. He shuts the locker of the break. He shuts and locks the breaker box and continues on, now lighting the way with his dedicated flashlight. The camera only picks up shapes and shadows that the beam illuminates, making for an eerie journey back to the comfort of the monitor room. Our host doesn't seem bothered, but some of the chat members, whether role-playing or not, are getting a little uneasy. Used to be, they'd shut off most of the lights in the warehouse after dark. Now, most places don't bother. It's all LEDs anyway, cheap to run, and they last... You hear that? He whispers sharply all of a sudden, and swings the phone and flashlight around, back towards the rear corridor. Nothing is audible on the stream. No. None of you? Damn. I definitely heard something. He looks around a few moments longer before resuming his trek. Not... Now with a speedier gait. The chat slows to a crawl, as if to keep it quiet for the host's sake. But now, there are over 50 watchers, probably still mostly from the Dead Mall subreddit where the stream was announced. After navigating around and between hundreds of tall shelves in the dark, the lights come back on, just as he reaches the stairs. A sigh of relief is heard. And they're back. I didn't plan any of that, by the way. He goes up the steps and surveys the warehouse from above for a bit. Don't see anyone or anything moving out there. Let's be sure. For the next 10 minutes of the stream, nothing remarkable happens. Our host and his audience spend some of this time looking at the camera feeds after he runs a post-reboot systems check. Everything appears to be normal, likely to be disappointing to the few watchers. Finally, just before 1 in the morning, he gets on with the show by fetching a hefty pair of bolt cutters from the tool track. Okay, sorry about the delay, but I needed to check out the security system anyway because of the power outage. Let's crack open that locker and see what Greg's been hiding. Back downstairs. If you guys are just joining us, we're reading Dead Pines, something that's already in progress on the channel. So, just doing a little bit of reading and recording right now. Have a seat and have a listen. On the return trip to the floor, he appears to hear something again, but says nothing. The camera lingers on the warehouse rows, and once more, the phone fails to pick up any audio. He proceeds into the employee lounge, and then into a room full of narrow lockers. Greg's unit is in the back, and doesn't stand out in any way. It's painted in a It's painted in a plain gray, like all the others. As you can see, it hasn't been opened, he tells the audience, and gives the padlock a tug. Now, just to be safe, in case there really is something messed up in there, I'll open it off screen and get a glimpse of the contents first. I also sort of need both hands to use the bolt cutters. The camera's placed on the floor, and the sound of metal getting sheared apart can be heard. The locker door creaks open, and our host is quiet for a long moment, longer than expected. Whatever is inside has taken him off guard. After several more seconds, he lets out a low mutter. Just... what the hell? Guys, you aren't going to... Man, Unable to find the words, he picks up the camera and shows the audience. Packed tightly on the locker's shelves are dozens of clay creations of all sizes. Some are simple, others are intricate, and a few have carvings that depict nothing discernible. Most are small, but several are sizable. Those on the top shelf are the biggest and the most detailed, almost looking like actual art. They're also the only ones that seem to be made of brown clay, instead of the more common light clay. But something is off. They look artificially colored, as if stained. Ooh, I like hamburger soup. That's a fan favorite around here. We're reading Dead Pines if you guys are just joining us, so, pull up a chair. Look at all these, he says, and touches some, knocking one to the floor. And they're just dry? Like, not even baked. What was he doing in his spare time? I assume we stocked clay somewhere, but did he bring these from home? Yeah, I see that, chat. You're all jumped right to totems, but come on. How would he even know about them? It has to be some weird art project. The commentary continues to scroll, and... hang on. Try that one again. The commentary begins to scroll faster than anyone can read, but at a glance, there's clearly a division between those that think this is all just fake or a setup, or an example of a genuine urge to create idols. It remains unknown if such a desire stems from knowledge or... try that again. It remains unknown if such a desire stems from knowledge of their prior existence or from a form of psychosis that can arise in certain individuals who spend time on the land. They aren't as serious as the totems in the stories, he continues, while explaining a few and tossing them on the floor, since they're destined for the trash regardless. But these ones on the top shelf, shit, that's gross. You see what's under them, like pools of dried blood, I think. I won't be touching those. If he's been mixing friggin' blood into these clay statues, then I could get, like, hepatitis. Okay, fine. I'll look at one, but not here. If you guys are making me, I don't know, evaluate them, I'm gonna do it right. There's a workbench upstairs. He reluctantly but carefully grabs one of the stained objects and carries it away. Weird-ass old man. Swear to God, if these fluids are blood or something. Upon returning to the viewing deck that connects the monitoring room and where a large windowed office of a vista of the back warehouse, he places the object on the table. After shoving aside equipment that is being repaired, he turns on a lamp and studies the perverse statue. It's the size of a typical flower vase. Well, it feels and sounds hollow, so maybe there's something inside. I read through all the theories about these things, but who knows how they actually work or what they do. So far, science So, for science, let's open it up. These engravings don't look all that interesting, but maybe more thought was put into contents. There's something rattling around in here. Using a hammer and several heavy taps, the object breaks apart and its materials spill out onto the table. He zooms in for a closer look, though all there is to see are nail clippings, strands of hair, and a single tooth. Ugh, gross, but I expected worse. That's definitely his hair, so he must be using parts of himself to give meaning or power to this thing. That might be both disturbing and narcissistic. Anyway, I see that a lot of you want me to open up more of the totems. I was planning to end the stream around now, but if you really want me to, I guess we can break open a few of them. He stands up and turns to head back downstairs again, but immediately freezes upon noticing a sudden change in the warehouse. It's now bathed in darkness. All of the lights past the nearest few rows of shelves have gone out. What the hell? When did that happen? I didn't hear any thunder. The audience watches as another section of lights flickers, dims, and goes out. It's as if a growing void is encroaching on the last illuminated area in the large building. The host, though perturbed, still doesn't panic. Okay, that's not normal. I'm going to check the monitors and see how it started. It's like circuits are going out, one after another. He rushes into the office and narrates to the viewers while he's tapping on the keyboard. Most of the cams are down, rewinding. See that? The lights begin shutting off like a few minutes ago. Starts from the back, spreads fast, and slows down. Yeah, screw this. I'm leaving. I mean, if I can. He switches to the external camera, and then... He switches to the external cameras, and they show him the bad news. What the hell am I? There we go. Under the pouring rain, the outdoor lights reflect against a growing sea of water. Shit. Am I trapped? Two more interior cameras lose their connection, and he leaves the room to update us on the warehouse. The darkness is coming closer, swallowing the light as swaths of LED tubes go dead. He doesn't budge from the previous... He doesn't budge from the perceived safety of the second floor observation area. No, these are not special effects or me setting off timers or some shit. This is really happening. And now I'm marooned. Tell me I didn't do this. That totem was pathetic. Me breaking it didn't cause this. He picks up one of the landline phones, but no dial tone is heard. Of course. I'm ending the stream to call for rescue. I'll try. All the remaining bulbs go out. The video feed becomes flat black. Not even emergency or backup lights can be seen in the abyss. After several seconds of breathing, things resume in infrared. Our host approaches the glass for a closer look. God. What he sees out there is a chasm with no lights visible to the eye. It's chilling in several ways. The walls, the floor, the ceilings are covered in a dark purple, showing that they're cold. Even the shelves and inventory have retained some ambient heat. What's more, the building now has a rough cave-like structure, as if coated by a rugged material. At the same time, the dust is hotter than ever and eerily suspended in the air, unmoving. He stares as his camera does, unsure of what to say. The only sound is heavy breathing. We watch as the miasma of mutagenic dust throughout the building begins to glow like a field of stars, hotter and hotter, nearly blinding the infrared sensors. No one For one small moment, it's quiet. Then, without warning, the dust rockets in all directions, slamming into the ceiling, the walls, the floor, everything in between, pelting the viewing window as well. The specks move with so much velocity that they're scattered. Their scattering is only captured on 2 frames of video. Stretch break. Thanks for joining us for today's stream, guys. We're reading Dead Pines right now. Gonna get a little ahead on my Tuesday, Thursday stories. So I hope you guys enjoy it. It's unknown what happens immediately afterwards. It sounds like a powerful shock wave hits our host, but there's no shattering glass. Whatever he's struck by, we hear him hit the floor with a thud, and the stream goes offline for a few seconds after the dust activated in whatever way it did. The chat window explodes with reactions, and once it automatically shuts down, the viewers swarm the threads for the Try that again. The viewers swarm the thread for the stream to continue their debates and concerns. Some still say it's an elaborate prank, maybe even shot on a sabotaged soundstage against a green screen. But that wouldn't account for the fact that there is flooding in the area, and when the leaked numbers for the security desk phone is tried by previous users, they only reach a dead line. Let's see. Damn, that's a biggie. While waiting for the stream to come back, or any response from the guy who has become the new major player in the Sleepy Pines saga, the story spreads like wildfire around the Dead Malls community and a bit beyond, though given the late hour, its power to attract the uninitiated masses is muted. What's good to see is that while many want answers and beg for more videos, many more send their well wishes and hope for the streamer. Efforts are made to contact the nearest rescue crew, but The flooding has knocked out a bridge and even further isolating the already rural corner of the state. A silver lining emerges when newer forecasts show the rain starting to dissipate, although better weather won't be much for our friend if he's already met with a strange, unique, terrifying fate, or if the building has collapsed from the fully activated totem, which was quickly becoming the lead theory in this occurrence. But from here, by whom? But from where and by whom is unknown. After 93 minutes of anxiety and getting friends to wake up and join in the event, the stream miraculously resumes. The video is lower in quality and drops frames often, but it remains decent enough. Our survivor continues from the monitor room, lit only by the backdrop of light. Notably, from here out, he mostly speaks in whispers. Some copies of the recording have incorporated AI to enhance his voice. Is it going through? How's the picture? Wow, you're all flooding back. Sorry to worry everyone. I didn't black out, or maybe I did. It's more like I've lost time, about an hour and a half. I guess that's just a symptom of this sort of thing, isn't it? Like when the Sleepy Pines girl was in the washing machine and... Never mind. I got knocked off my feet, and then next thing I know, I checked the time, and, well, as you can see, the power is out. You heading out, honey? Alright. See you later. Bye. Say bye, everybody. Bye. Let's see. Where were we? Well, as you can see, the power is out. So, no cameras, but maybe mine are still out there. Well, no Wi-Fi either. Hoping my cell connection holds out. I've been hiding here, working up the nerve to go into the warehouse and see what's happened to it. And, try to find an exit. I think I can do it if you're all with me. It's weird. You aren't here in person, but it's still like I have a personal army at my command. Jesus, there are thousands of viewers now. With that, he stays fairly quiet for a while, letting the viewers experience what's ahead without unneeded commentary. If you guys are just joining us, we're listening to Dead Pines, so, pull up a chair. It's gonna be here for a minute. Let's see. What's ahead without unneeded commentary? The journey speaks for itself, and he seems to know this in advance. For those who spent years drawn in and captivated by the mystery of Sleepy Pines, the land, the totems, and their belief-fueled power, and what it all meant, this night is already proving to be a holy grail of an event, and the chat box reflects the solemn solidarity. Despite the thousands of viewers, texts usually scroll by slowly. He returns to the viewing booth and picks up the biggest flashlight he can find, which he uses to send a revealing beam into the darkness. The observation area has been spared from the transformation effects of the black matter, but outside, past the thick particles of dark dust, now easily visible even without the infrared camera, is a jungle of amalgamized corruption where time and space have imploded into a fractal-shaped mess of geometry that vaguely resembles gnarled tree roots, with limbs that terminate in objects and samplings of a place from the past. At this distance, it's difficult to make out a final detail. At this distance, it's difficult to make out finer details, but it's certainly clear that the warehouse is now without definition. Our intrepid explorer breathes in and leaves the room, grabbing a crowbar on the way out. For anything potentially crawling around, I mean. The totems have the ability to create hollow mimics of living beings, at least for a brief time, and the extent of their behavior and potential for hostility isn't fully known. Upon reaching the ground floor, he looks for any available way out, but the intelligent eruption of black matter has covered all the doors. He seems to be left with no choice but to head to the back, all the way to the end of the building on its other side. Hang on. Man, this one's going to be pretty massive here. I don't know. I think that's a pretty good stopping place for this one. Like, it's gone on for almost 30 minutes. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good stopping place for this one. Alrighty. I think that'll do it for the stream today too. We've got a lot of recording done, got a lot of cool stuff done, so now it's time to go make some videos, I guess. Thanks for joining me today, guys. Again, sorry it started late. I'll try to be here on time Thursday. I had made a bunch of videos and I had to go ahead and get them up. But I'm glad you guys could be here with me, and I hope we'll see you again on the next one. Dr. Plague, signing off. Have a wonderful afternoon.